Jody Lee Lipes has been the cinematographer on such films as Lena Dunham's Tiny Furniture and Sean Durkin's Martha, Marcia May, Marlene, not to mention a bunch of episodes of HBO's Girls. Well, now Jody has turned his attention to directing and is set to premiere his new documentary, Ballet 422. Jody and crew follow dancer and choreographer Justin Peck as he creates a new production for the New York City Ballet. The film, which had its premiere at last year's Tribeca Film Festival, and which is being distributed by Magnolia Pictures, offers audiences a rare glimpse into the highly guarded world of professional ballet. There'll be a theatrical engagement at Lincoln Center and at the landmark Sunshine Theater this Friday, starting this Friday, February 6th. It's my pleasure to welcome Jody Lee Lipes to BK Live. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to finally sit down and meet you. And we met once last spring, right around the time of the Tribeca Film Festival, and I've had it in my mind to talk to you since. I saw Ballet 422 back at the festival and really liked it a lot. We sort of said in the intro that you were turning your attention, but you've worked in documentary before this.
Yeah, this is my second doc feature. Yeah.
Right, yeah. Now, first, I kind of curious. I don't meet a lot of people who really have that are have a foot in both worlds of fiction and nonfiction, and so I'm kind of curious, like your films that you've been a cinematographer on, like we mentioned the Sean Durkin film, Lena's stuff. It's very of its moment. After School was another one, right? And then you're doing this very different type of documentary. So I'm wondering, how do you explain that part of your nature, or split personality?
Yeah. Well, I think it's refreshing to sort of go back and forth between different forms. I think there are sort of ways of doing things like in the commercial world and the music video world and the doc world and the narrative world, the television world, the movie world. And so I think it's nice when you get to sort of sample all of those things and then take ideas from each one of those and bring them to sort of the wrong genre. So I don't know, I think instead of doing the same thing over and over again, I like to try different things and then sort of mix it up a little bit.
Does it kind of refresh you when you go back to the other genre?
It does. It reminds you that, it's like when you're working on a crew with 150 people, you say to yourself, oh wait, I did this before, but it was just me and one other person, and maybe there's a simple way to do this that's better. And then when you're working on a really small production, sometimes you think, maybe I should think bigger here, like maybe there's a way to accomplish this in sort of a more grand cinematic way than you might otherwise expect. And I like it because in a way you may be also introducing your audiences to this world. I mean, your wife, right, was in the New York City Ballet for a long time, right? And yeah, 13 years. Yep.
She still works for the company, but in a different mode. But so that must have made it. All that access inspire you to make the?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge dance fan. I definitely have an appreciation for the culture and the dancers and the people who really dedicate their lives to that, because it's such an extreme art form, which is exciting to me and interesting. But yeah, the way I sort of got into it was Ellen, who's now my wife, hired me to make this other film, New York Export Opus Jazz, which is an adaptation of a Jerome Robbins ballet from the 50s. And that was just sort of like a hired gun kind of a job. It was like, okay, it's a job, I'll do this job. But then I started to kind of really fall in love with Jerome Robbins and his work and how much of a perfectionist he was. And sort of I really learned a lot about him and started having to go to the ballet a lot to learn about his work. So that's how I first got into it. And then because of Ellen, I was just around that world a lot. And that's when I saw Justin's work for the first time, and it just made me really interested in him and want to make a film about him.
All right, and the film follows Justin Peck, who is in the company, and he is also a burgeoning choreographer. And so let's actually go to the trailer, and then we'll come back and talk a bit more about Ballet 422, which again is opening Friday here in New York City.
Dancers, please sign in if you have it. 30 minutes till the first ballet of the evening, Justin Peck's Paz de la Jolla.
thinking about it being like a full turn. It really should be more like...
Okay, so the first one I'll do and the second one no.
Yeah.
We want it to sit more like that.
No. Bring them down through and then around. No.
You have to lift her up and lift her down.
Yeah.
Not just lift her up.
There's this disconnect between what's happening here and you're kind of this kid. You know, I mean, it's cool.
Stop! We need to do that again.
Like Q10, go.
How far do we push a story with the light?
This side?
That side.
It's really important to play with like a lot of energy and vigor.
Looks great. What were you saying about the BAM screening, the audience?
Well, I watched the film again last night at BAM for the first time in a while, and it was just really nice that people were laughing a lot.
Well,
I think sometimes people think it's sort of like a serious, like high art kind of story, and so that it's very,
right. Well, that's there too, because it's
yeah,
the New
it's
York
both,
City
right.
Ballet after all.
Right.
But there's he's a nervous wreck. This right, Justin's a bit of is he
Well,
neurotic or?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think
they like
everyone
now?
has their own interpretation of, what he's thinking and what he's going through. But to me, it's whenever you can access a very particular world, there's always humor there because people have their sort of their own language and their own way of doing things, and it's hard for them to have perspective on how that looks and sounds from the outside, just like filmmakers do. But so I think there's humor there.
Justin is, by the way, who again is the choreographer who we just saw in that trailer, but he's a very compelling guy, and of course he's going through this huge, experience creating this ballet for like a world, premiere, world level dance company, ballet company, and the pressure is there. Was that your way in, or were you thinking more like I don't know? I know we talked about Frederick Wiseman before the segment and how much of an influence he is, who's known for his institutional documentaries. And so were you thinking, I'm going to make a film about that? What were you?
I think Frederick Wiseman's form inspires me, but I think in this case, I think the thing that really made me want to make the film is, it seems to me like Justin isn't just sort of a run-of-the-mill artist. He's not a run-of-the-mill choreographer. It seems to me like his career will last for a long time and only grow and become more and more substantial. So I would love to see a film about Balanchine or like a really, really established, important choreographer when they were a kid and they were just starting out. Because I think that's what this film captures, is sort of that moment when he's working on a world stage and he's working at,
That's
the
the
top.
expression I was looking for. World stage.
Yeah. He's working at like the top of his game, but he's new and he doesn't know how to talk to some people. He doesn't know like the politics sometimes, and so he's figuring that out. And this, we finished shooting the film 2 years ago, and his career has changed. I visited him yesterday when he was running a rehearsal for his new ballet, Rodeo, which is premiering tomorrow at New York City Ballet. And he's different now. He's more in control, and so this is a very particular time in his career, which has come and gone.
Sounds very exciting. He's premiering his fourth.
I think it's his seventh, maybe, with New York City Ballet. Sixth or seventh, yeah.
Okay.
He's now the resident choreographer at New York City Ballet, which is only the second time anyone has ever been bestowed that title in the company's, 60-something year, 70-something year history.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Let's transition, since you're saying he's on the cusp, or he's maybe even on the other side of that cusp. What about you in your career? You seem to be on the cusp as well. You are also now, I don't know if this was the first time, dipping your toe into big budget films, but they announced yesterday that the new Judd Apatow film, Trainwreck, is going to have its festival premiere at South by Southwest next month. How is that working with Judd Apatow? You have 1 minute. Just kidding.
I think it was a really educational experience for me. I mean, I think that's part of the reason that this film is interesting to me, is like seeing a guy kind of like have to deal with this new responsibility and this step into this new role. And for me, working on a film like that was new, and it was hard, and I learned a lot. And yeah, it's like every time you do a new project with new people, and you have to figure out stuff. So.
Yeah, very, very well said. He's not giving. I want a Judd Apatow story. Next time you come on, okay? Promise.
Promise.
Again.
Promise.
Okay, good. Next. Let's remind people. Ballet 422 premieres here in New York City theatrically. It's going to be at the Lincoln Center. Probably at one of their, the Eleanor Bunn and Monroe Theater, I'm guessing, and also at the Landmark Sunshine down on East Houston Street. And then next Friday, I guess that's the 13th, it's going to be in LA and possibly
other places
Bay
out
Area.
There. Yeah.
One other thing, is there going to be an online, or is that down the pipe?
That's down the road. Yeah, we're not doing day and date. Yeah, theatrical to start. Yep.
Very good. Thought I should make sure of that. Well, thanks again for coming on.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Thank you.